There is a test no one warns you about. It isn't taught in any school and no mentor can prepare you for it. It is the soul's most difficult examination, one it must pass while the conscious mind believes it is simply suffering. Those grinding years of your life, the longest nights, the moments you felt utterly adrift and unseen. What if none of that was an accident? What if the universe was watching intently, not to punish, but to see if you were ready? Ready for what comes next, because for the few who pass this silent, brutal initiation, who survive this test, the universe is now ready to give you everything. In the next few minutes, you will understand why certain cycles in your life felt like inescapable traps. You will see the hidden architecture behind your pain, and why, right now, in this very moment, everything is beginning to shift. You will recognize that you are not here by chance. You will see that the most shattered chapters of your history were the exact materials your soul needed to build what it was always meant to become. Stay with me, because what you are about to discover will permanently reframe the entire story of what you have endured. Carl Jung spoke of these trials that the soul undergoes, far beneath the radar of the conscious mind. These are not exams that someone designs or grades. They emerge from the psyche's own profound, desperate need to unfold, to recognize itself, to integrate. You may have thought you were simply in pain. You may have believed you were broken, forgotten, or failing at life. But in truth, you were in the very heart of what the ancient traditions called an initiation to, and what Jung described as the individuation process. Your soul was not being broken. It was being forged. Think back to the moments when you felt compressed from all sides. Relationships dissolved. Financial security vanished. People you swore would be there forever just left. The dreams you built your identity around crumbled to dust. It felt like chaos, like a cruel roll of the dice, like a fundamental injustice. But what if it was a hidden order? What if every collapse was a necessary controlled demolition to make space for something new? Jung recognized that the soul grows through this dissolution. He called this phase the negredo, the blackening, the necessary darkness that precedes any true transformation. You were not in a state of decay, you were in preparation. In this phase, there are no answers, and there are only questions that dig deeper and deeper. Why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? But these questions are not a sign of your failure. They are the sign of your awakening. The moment you begin to search for meaning in the pain, your psyche begins to recalibrate. You are moving from the surface to the depths. You are leaving the world of simple explanations and entering the realm of symbols, of archetypes, of hidden truth. At the very point where most people turn back, you are just beginning to see. The suffering you experienced was not arbitrary. It was specific. It targeted the exact places within you that were not yet integrated. The wounds you carried were not mistakes in your story. They were signposts. They showed you precisely where your soul was split, where shadows remained unrecognized, where you were not yet whole. Jung understood that pain is often the only way the unconscious can get the attention of the conscious mind. When everything is going smoothly, there is no need for reflection. It is only when something shatters that we are forced to ask why. It is only when we lose that we begin to search. You probably noticed that in your hardest moments, no one came to rescue you. No voice from the sky, no clear, unambiguous sign, no external salvation. The universe seemed deaf. Your prayers seemed to fall on flat stone. And this moment, this terrifying moment of cosmic silence, was perhaps the most important one of all. Because only when all external supports are ripped away are you forced to find your internal ones. Only when no one comes do you realize that you must become your own rescuer. This is not cruelty, this is the pedagogy of the soul. Jung spoke of the self, the innermost core of your personality, which often remains hidden beneath layers of conditioning, expectation, and adaptation. To reach this core, everything false must fall away, and that process feels like dying. It feels like you are losing everything. But you are only losing that which was never truly you. The masks, the roles, the identities you adopted to be loved, to be accepted, or just to be seen. When these masks fall, only the raw, true, essential thing remains. And that is terrifying, because it is so vulnerable, because it is so unprotected, but it is also the only thing that is real. In this phase of dissolution, a space is created inside you that nothing could fill before. Jung called it the sacred space of the psyche, the place where the new can be born. As long as your life was full of distractions, relationships that didn't fit, and occupations that kept you from yourself, there was no room for the authentic. Only when everything became empty could something new arise. This empty space is not a deficiency, it is potential. It is the fertile ground upon which your true self can finally grow. The people around you may have thought you had failed. They saw you lose things that were valuable in their eyes: status, relationships, security, recognition. They didn't understand that you were gaining something infinitely more important. You were gaining yourself. You developed the ability to stay in your own presence without escape, without distraction, without the constant search for validation from outside. This is a power that is invisible. It doesn't show up on a bank statement or in a job title, but it changes everything. There is a point in this journey where something fundamental shifts. It's not a loud moment, no explosion, no dramatic revelation. It is a quiet knowing that spreads through you like morning light. You suddenly realize that you are no longer the same person who entered this darkness. You see the world differently, you feel differently, you react differently. Things that would have derailed you in the past no longer touch you. People whose opinions used to mean everything to you are now just voices in the wind. You have not become numb. You have become clear. This clarity is the first gift the universe gives you. Not as a reward for good behavior, but as a natural consequence of your internal transformation. You now see what was hidden before. You recognize patterns that you repeated for years without noticing. You understand the dynamics in your relationships that always pulled you into the same conflicts. You see the shadows that were unconsciously steering your life, and with this seeing comes freedom, because what is conscious can be changed. What is recognized no longer has power over you. Jung described this process as the integration of the shadow. The parts of you that you repressed, denied, or projected onto others come into the light, not to destroy you, but to become part of you. Your anger, your grief, your fear, your hidden desires. Everything you considered unacceptable is now allowed to be seen, and in the seeing it loses its destructive power. It becomes energy that you can use. It becomes a part of your wholeness. You are no longer split into good and bad parts. You are one. You are complete. This completeness changes your vibration. This is not an esoteric metaphor. It is a psychological reality. When you are internally coherent, when all parts of you are looking in the same direction, you send out a different energy. People feel this even if they can't name it. They are either drawn to you or repelled by you. And this is a good thing, because now you no longer attract everyone. You only attract those who match your new frequency. The others simply fall away without drama, without conflict. They no longer belong to your path. The universe responds to this new frequency not with grand gestures, but with synchronicities. Jung was fascinated by these meaningful coincidences, these moments when the external world perfectly mirrors what is happening internally. You think of someone and that person contacts you. You need an answer, and a book falls into your hands. You are looking for a path, and a door opens that was previously locked. These are not miracles. This is the natural order of things when you stop fighting against yourself. In this new state, you realize that you no longer have to move through life with force. You no longer have to kick down doors, convince people, or force situations. A flow emerges, a natural gliding, an ease that was unthinkable before. This doesn't mean everything becomes simple, but it means you handle difficulties differently. You don't fight against them. You move through them with a trust that comes from your depths and not from external guarantees. You also notice that certain people disappear from your life, not because you push them away, but because the resonance is no longer there. Relationships that were based on mutual wounds dissolve. Dynamics that kept you small no longer work. You are no longer available for drama, for manipulation, for emotional roller coasters. This can feel lonely at first, but it is a cleansing loneliness. It is the loneliness that makes space for relationships that are real. At the same time, new people appear. Not many, but the right ones. People who don't want to fix you because they see you are not broken. People who recognize and value your depth instead of fearing it. People who are on their own path and understand what you've been through without you having to explain much. These connections are different. They are quieter, deeper, truer. They nourish you instead of exhausting you. What you receive now is not what you used to want. In the past, you might have sought recognition, external success, the perfect relationship, financial security. And that is understandable. We all have those desires. But the soul wants something else. The soul wants wholeness, and wholeness cannot be achieved through external things. It can only arise from inner integration. This is the reward that no one talks about because it doesn't sound glamorous. But it is the only one that truly matters. You may now feel for the first time in your life whole, not perfect, not flawless, not without scars, but whole. All parts of you are present, the light and the dark, the strong and the vulnerable, the wise and the doubting, and they are no longer fighting each other. They exist together in an inner peace that needs no external validation. This is the gift. This is the reward. This is what the universe gives you when you pass the test. But with this wholeness also comes responsibility. You can no longer return to the old unconsciousness. You can no longer pretend not to see what you see. You can no longer play along in dynamics that you have seen through. This can be strenuous. Because it means you must always choose, always decide, always stay with yourself. There are no more excuses, no more victim role, no more projection. You are now responsible for your life, for your reactions, for your energy. Jung spoke of the archetype of the wounded healer. Those who have suffered most deeply often become sources of healing for others. Not because they got rid of their wounds, but because they learned to live with them, to understand them, to integrate them. You now carry an invisible wisdom within you. People sense this. Some come to you without knowing why. They feel safe in your presence. They open up to you, tell you things they tell no one else. You become a mirror for others, an anchor, a quiet strength. This is not a role you choose. It is a natural consequence of your transformation. But be careful. Not everyone wants to be healed. Not everyone is ready for the truth. Some people come to you because they sense your energy, but they only want to tap into it, not to walk the path themselves. Learn to distinguish. Learn to protect. Your energy is precious. You earned it through intense suffering. Do not waste it on those who are not willing to do their own work. There is also a loneliness that comes with this transformation, a loneliness that arises not from lack, but from fullness. You no longer fit into the old conversations. Small talk feels empty. Superficial relationships tire you. You long for depth, for authenticity, for real contact. But that is rare. Most people still live on the surface, and that's okay. Everyone is on their own path, but it means that you will sometimes be alone. And that is the price of wholeness. But it is a price you are willing to pay because you know what is at stake. The world looks different when you live from the inside out. Things that used to be important lose their meaning. Status, possessions, the opinions of others. They are no longer what defines your life. Instead, the essential becomes visible. The quality of a conversation, the silence of a morning, the depth of an encounter, the feeling of being aligned with yourself. These are the things that count now, and no one can take them away from you, because they come from within. You also notice that your needs have changed. You need less. Not because you are restricting yourself, but because you recognize that most of it is superfluous. You no longer need constant stimulation, no distraction, no entertainment. You can just be. You can sit in silence without it being uncomfortable. You can be alone without feeling lonely. You have developed an inner fullness that needs no external supplement. This is freedom in its purest form. At the same tempo, doors open that were previously locked, not because you rattled them, but because you stopped forcing. When you no longer act from a place of lack, but from a place of fullness, everything changes. You attract opportunities that match your true self. Not the things you thought you wanted, but the things your soul truly needs. And often, these are things you never even had on your radar. The universe is more creative than your limited mind. It knows paths you cannot even imagine. There is a moment, a quiet, unspectacular moment when you realize you are grateful. Grateful for everything that happened, for the pain, for the loss, for the darkness, not because it was pleasant, but because it was necessary. You now see the order behind the chaos. You understand that every shattering brought you to this point, and this point is exactly where you need to be. This is not hindsight rationalization. This is true recognition. You know that without this journey, you would never have become who you are now. This gratitude is not loud. It is not demonstrative. You don't post it on social media. You don't make a big deal about it. It is a quiet knowledge within you, a deep appreciation for the intelligence of life. You now trust in a way that was impossible before. You don't trust blindly. You trust consciously. You trust because you have seen how things come together, even when it didn't look like it for a long time. Jung said that the individuation process never truly ends. There is no final destination, no point where you can say, I am done. It is a constant becoming, a constant discovering, a constant integrating. But there are moments when you know you have crossed an important threshold. You are no longer where you were. You have arrived in a new space of your existence. And from here, everything looks different. The reward is not what you get. The reward is who you have become. You are no longer fragmented. You are no longer torn between different versions of yourself. You are no longer driven by unconscious patterns and fears. You are now conscious. You are now whole. You are now you. And that is the most valuable thing the universe can give you, because it is what you always were before the world told you who you should be. People who meet you now see something in you they cannot name, a calm, a depth, a presence. They feel drawn to you because you are no longer trying to be something. You simply are. And this simplicity is magnetic, it is powerful, it is healing. Not because you are doing anything, but because you are. Your mere existence in this state of wholeness is an invitation for others to come home to themselves as well. But you will also notice that some people turn away from you. Your new energy confronts them with what they do not want to look at in themselves. This is not your fault. You are not too much. You are not wrong. You are simply no longer willing to stay small to make others feel comfortable. And that's okay. Let them go. Your path is not their path, and their path is not yours. The silence that is in you now is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is the space where everything can exist without excluding each other. Joy and sorrow, hope and doubt, love and fear, you no longer have to choose, you can hold it all. You have become big enough to embrace the paradoxes of life without breaking from them. This is maturity. This is wisdom. This is the fruit of your suffering. There are no more dramatic turning points, no explosions. No crises that change everything. The change is subtle, constant, organic. You are now growing in a way that is barely visible from the outside, but from the inside, you know that something is constantly moving, deepening, expanding. You are a living process. You are not static. You are not finished, but you are now in motion in a way that feels right. The things that come into your life now come quietly. A new job that simply emerges, an encounter that begins inconspicuously and proves to be significant, an insight that hits you in an ordinary moment. The universe no longer shouts at you, it whispers, and you hear it now because you have become quiet enough. You are no longer in the noise. You breaks in the clarity, and in this clarity you receive what is meant for you. What you have now, no one can take from you, because it does not lie outside of you. It is in you. It is you. You have found the treasure that everyone is looking for. And it was there all along, buried under layers of pain, conditioning, and forgetting. You dug. You persevered. You did not give up, even when everything in you screamed for it, and now you hold the gold in your hands. The gold of your own essence. The world needs people like you. People who have walked through the darkness and not returned bitter. People who have suffered and still keep their hearts open to people who were broken and put themselves back together, this time with more light between the cracks. You are now a beacon, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. And authenticity is the rarest and most valuable thing in a world full of masks. The universe did not give you anything new. It gave you back what was always yours. It stripped away the layers that separated you from yourself. It led you through the fire not to destroy you, but to burn away everything that was not you. And what remains, the indestructible, the essential, that is you. That was always you. That will always be you. When you look in the mirror now, you no longer see the person you were. You see someone who has died and been reborn. Someone who bears scars but is not defined by them. Someone who knows what pain is but is no longer ruled by it. Someone who has arrived, not at a place but within themselves, and that is the true homecoming. Maybe you don't talk about it much. Maybe you don't tell everyone what you've been through. You don't have to. Your transformation speaks for itself. It shows in the way you walk through the world. In the calm you radiate. In the depth you embody. In the presence you bring. You don't have to prove that you passed the test. Your entire being is the proof. There is no going back. The door behind you has closed. And that is a good thing. What lies behind you belongs to a different version of you. You can honor it, you can be grateful for it, but you cannot return to it. You are here now, in this new space, with this new clarity, with this new strength. And from here a new chapter begins, a chapter that you write not from fear, but from truth. The journey continues. But now, you no longer walk alone. You walk with yourself, with all parts of you, with your darkness and your light, with your strength and your vulnerability, with your wisdom and your questions. You are complete. And from this completeness you can truly live, no longer just surviving, no longer just enduring, but living with every fiber of your being. The universe has given you everything, but not in the form of things, in the form of yourself. You are the reward. You are the gift. You are what was worth walking through hell for. And now that you know it, no one can ever take it away from you. You are free, not because you no longer have limitations, but because you know who you are within those limitations. And that is more than most people will ever experience. If you feel that these words have touched something in you, if you recognize that you have been through this exact test and are now on the threshold of something new, then share your thoughts in the comments. Write a word, a feeling, a recognition. Because your voice is important, your experience is important, and maybe what you share is exactly what another soul needs to hear to know that they are not alone. Subscribe to this channel if you want to continue traveling through these inner landscapes, if you are ready to go deeper, to live more consciously and understand the language of your soul. The next step is already waiting for you.